Well, afternoon. So we need to talk about our hodl bags, and I want to show a bullish signal that I think a lot of people are basically, um, yeah, I think they brushed it under the table for all intents and purposes. The market's bearish, everything's dumping. I just want to leave, and typically this is what happens. People leave in the times when they actually need to pay attention the most. So there's this insane list of coins that I want to chart with you guys today. So I've got the list here in front of me. We're going to go through Ethereum, DOT, Cardano, Say, Trump, Doge, Mark, Super PR. There's the whole list. And if there's anything in those categories you feel like you wanna add on, or maybe if I have time, I can see if I can try and add on it. Drop them in the comment section. Okay. For the rest of you guys, Mora, Rene, everybody else, say hi. Come on, it's a friendly stream. Let's just see how we can find our next direction. Because what am I saying? This hidden signal will probably change the way you look at the altcoins and some of the other long-term outlooks that I think Trump pump and dump has basically destroyed for you. Okay, let's start off with Bitcoin real quick. So let's see. Dion. Did I say it right, Peter? Dion. He says it right. Yeah, Peter says Dion, not Dean. Dion. Dion or something. Maybe I've got your name right. I'm trying. Hello, Josh. How are you doing as well? And okay, so let's have a look at this. Okay, so we know that Bitcoin has this big adoption, and the larger time adoption means that it's going to go through these pumps and retraces, and for all intents and purposes, one can argue that looks almost like a retrace or a blow off. And there's a lot of speculation that can enter the market with any retrace, and it's fair. It is fair. But what I try and do to just kind of keep myself level-minded is look at the larger picture of things. At this stage, people were really angsty, but the time that the accumulation plays out over versus where the top occurs statistically is there. Now, it can be wrong, Yes, there's always that danger sign, but you have to have a little bit of a belief inside you that, stick to the trend, because that will help you in the long run versus trying to make a reason out of something that you can't and don't have any control or realistically really good data on. So that's why a technical analysis background, I think, is paramount importance for any guy that wants to get into, building a hodl portfolio for his retirement one day. So where we're at now, we can clearly see that the market is breaking trend. So most traders would be looking at this. Retail traders would be saying, oh, shit, look at what's happening now. We're breaking trend. And this is where the hidden signal comes in. So off the bat, immediately this looks bearish. And be forewarned. I mean, be warned, this thing can still dump down all the way there. And then, yes, this is the beginning of something bearish. But before you always try and be the contrarian to the trend, rather say, okay, what does this signal? It signals maybe a shakeout, signals maybe a little bit of a fear of panic. And how can I and what can I do to kind of justify whether this is the right time to look to re-enter? And the way that I do this is as follows. I'm going to just jump to another screen that's got a little bit less on it. And then I'm going to expand this to the weekly analysis that I left with you guys there. And the way that I'm going to look at this is I'm going to delete all these other lines because I think, we spoke about this more than enough times. The big thing is I want to see whether the trend is going to continue. And in doing so, the trend will typically have a little bit of stress that needs to enter before it continues. And the pivot that I will use for that is just simple. Look at the RSI, look at where that low is. So that's the pivot that I want to use. That's the closing price that really scared the shit out of everybody and got bought up by big players. And then typically what you will say is, okay, when was the next dump or pump? Depends on whether you're bullish or bearish. So there was a big cluster, there was a pivot created there, and there was a big pump and a nice big pump. So if price is holding critical accumulation areas, so it's accumulating higher, but the RSI is resetting, it tells us that it's just preparing, it's just closing off a wave, because there's waves within waves. So Elliott wave shows you that very nicely. Okay, waves within waves. So in there, shit can look horribly bearish, but if you don't have sight of the bigger view, you're gonna trip over your feet. Okay, so with that said, you've got hidden bullish divergence around those pivots. And what does the market do? It gives you another move. And this is the first time that the market now for Bitcoin on the weekly time frame, this is important, the weekly time frames, not daily, 4 hourly, 15-minute, big picture in your hodl bags. That's the time frame, the only time frame you're ever actually really concerned about. The first time on the weekly time frame that we're getting another bullish signal. The last time we had a signal like this was a bearish signal until reclaimed. Remember, this is just showing you that there's momentum. So we had weekly strong bullish divergence. Okay, and then when we reclaimed it, 19K was a sweet spot buy. So where we're at, I'm saying to this is still bullish until we fall below that range. And then if we come back to around 68, then it's bearish. So you have to say to yourself, okay, if it's bullish, what am I looking for? I'm looking for a continuation of trend. And the best way to do, or the best tool, is to look for hidden bullish divergence again. So what are we looking at? We're looking at the pivot. We're looking at when's the last time within this wave that we had a massive move. And that's this pivot here. So let's remove that line real quick. Clean that up. And then I'm saying to myself, statistically, if this is the case, my hidden bullish divergence will occur within these levels. Just statistical probabilities. 74, 175, 69, and 64. So what have we done already? We wicked to 74, and we're currently moving up on a smaller time frame. So in order for me to say that it's over, price basically needs to fall out of this range. And this is that hidden signal I'm saying to you. It's screaming buy. But now here's the catch. It's not just giving that on the weekly and then yes, but it can still wick all the way down to 52, Rudo, and then it's still bullish. Bullshit. On the daily time frame, we're also securing our first strong bullish divergence. So now we're looking for the market to change a trend. And that's also within this range. So now we've got confluence. We've got the daily and the weekly time frame telling us, listen, this is potentially how Bitcoin is performing. Now, guys, just for a little bit of background, for those that are new, there's about 188 people joining in. If you're new to this channel, please let me know in the comments real quick. And this is for the benefit of you guys. We were the guys that's been shorting Bitcoin as long as, while everybody else was extremely bullish. Let's do this. When everybody else was extremely bullish and saying more, we looked at the charts pragmatically and without any bias and just said, okay, what does the TA tell me? The TA tells me this is exhausted, it's going to fall. And it's been doing that. So now I'm saying to you guys the same thing. I'm looking at it pragmatically and although things are looking a little different and dicey and we're breaking trend, I'm saying to you, the TA tells me that because we've got a hidden bullish divergence signal on the weekly and we've got strong bullish divergence on the daily, it is time to consider the opposite. So where is our resistance? And this is the major resistance level now. So for the bears to keep control, and this is what makes it so hard for them now, why the market could reverse. For the bears to keep control, price has to stay below that level. They don't have a lot of wiggle room. So they have to put their money where their mouths are and short now. They can't wait for a higher high because that's going to ignite more bullish entry. Okay. When we were here and we looked at these kind of zones, there was still a lot of wiggle room, but that's now all been absorbed. So for the bears to remain in control, price needs to stay below $78,000. Now, let's see how the week pans out. But if this daily closes, say at around 77,700, which is probably a few hours from now, 11 hours from now, it's going to change the outlook and it's going to almost signal like a war cry for all large institutional buyers to keep adding in on these lows because the bears are weak. We always just try and trade and invest in harmony of the trend. It's simple as that. So if the trend is weak, get out. If the trend's strong, get in. Okay. And that's it. So that's the signal. Now let's head over to the altcoins because I think it's time for us to maybe have a look at that. Now, before I do that, probably we need to then just say, well, there you go, 82. So if the market finds itself retracing back into this 82 gap, yes, there will be a sell there. But that's the first wave I would kind of bet on for the market to come back down, test these lows, and continue on higher. There's low liquidity there. And I think for most, that's also where the CME gap starts, just below that. So it is one of those things where, now there's liquidity waiting there, but I don't want to see that get trapped up just yet. I want to see this thing range and then finally go there, because we need to build a base. If we turn on a dime, it's just another version of when we fell to 79, we went back to 93 all of a sudden, and then, it just continues onwards. So that's just something to keep in the back of your head. So there is confluence and reason for price to move up. So even if you're bearish, even if you disagree with me, there's still enough reason to say that the price needs to move up, something just to consider. Okay. And there's the CME gap, nicely and clean and blatantly obvious there. But now the big thing I just want to remind you guys, and before you subscribe to the CME gap theory and just always wait for the gap, the market can go and tag the gap and then sell off further, or the market can fill the gap and rally higher. It's just a destination point. So it's just a best guess. I mean, there was the CME. We've now filled that CME. So that's all that it is in the end of the day. And because we've got strong bullish divergence, because we've got a lot going for it, I think that this is the buy for the continuation to see Bitcoin go to 120. So I'm subliminally, maybe not subliminally, that's not the right word. I am cautiously very bullish and optimistic that the market's going to rally from these lows. Okay. Makes sense? Let's see what you guys have to say. Louis is asking for Sui. Let's see what Yuto has to say. I haven't read his comment. This shit is so demotivating. Every cycle by now we had an alt season. The only one I personally prepare for this, we get this pain. The one time I prepare for this, we get this pain. Yuto. Okay, so I read it like my horse's ass, but okay, let's look at this. The big thing that you need to remember with any of these analysis, and we can take the discussion onto Ethereum, is when you take profit, there's no preparing and demoralizing because there's no alt season. We've had more than enough sell opportunities. We had more than enough action opportunities to get yourself out. The same for Cardano. And when you go into anything, Bitcoin, Cardano, alt season, altcoins, buying the dip, new investments, whatever the case, if you do that with a preconceived idea of what would be good enough for you, in the sense that I'm only selling Cardano if it hits $30, then none of this is going to be of any value to you. And just like when we were here, I explained to you guys, the thing is can go as low as 37 cents. Spoiler alert, that's basically what I'm going to say to you guys now. Just like that, at this stage, it felt okay because you were in good gains. But now the mood and the sentiments changed. And me saying that, hey, you think you're down 50, 60%, you might prepare for another, that doesn't sit nicely. And then panic sets in. And then you get the fact that the reality is that most people will be selling the bottom. They will be buying in on the top and selling the bottom like they always do. So use this opportunity to rather not say, okay, right, this is demotivating. No, it isn't. It's an amazing time because you can reset the counter. You can say, okay, right, mistakes were made maybe. Even I can look at stuff and say, I could have done better. But you can only act with the information and the knowledge you have. Now you've learned something more. You know more. You'll probably act better. And the next time around, you'll probably be more aggressive to taking profit. Understanding that there's a new coin or a different investment opportunity. Should you want to diversify that profit into something else, but take the bloody profit when it's there. Okay. Remember, I cannot give it financial advice, guys. All I can say is just the stuff that I've learned over time, doing this for a living now. Okay. So what do we have that is a really good signal for me and why I'm thinking for Cardano? First thing is, look at the volume. When we were recent highs, volume were relatively high. And remember, one can account for more people using Binance. And so there will always be a volume growth as well. So you need to just kind of factor it in. Hence the fact that I have a little bit of a moving average on the volume, just to kind of see what is average volume and whether the volume is lower relative to the average, rather than say volume is low relative to Binance 20 years ago. Okay, so simple as that. That's the way I look at this. Now, what have we had? The last time we had crazy volume, when was really good dips? When the volume is quite low and boring. It's as simple as that. So what are we doing now? We're sitting in a situation where volume is low. We're filling the gap. We're basically doing exactly the opposite of what other people are doing. We're looking to buy when they're selling out of panic. Now, remember, this is the reload zone for more bears. And the argument is, if you're bullish, which was our buy zone, price goes there and does what? It proves us wrong, goes higher. It will revisit that range because that is the significant level of where price is trading, where this coin is basically the holders of the coin is basically locking the coins away. That's what the chart is basically telling you there. So we're sitting in a situation where this is now happening, and we're sitting in an area where that is getting tested. It's getting tested with lowish volume relative to the amount of fear and panic out there. So I would say to myself, hey, maybe this is a good idea. Now, this is a bearish trend. What do I want to see if the trend wants to reverse? I want to see strong bullish divergence. What are we doing? We've got strong bullish divergence. So this is potentially good. Now, don't buy today. Don't buy the dip now. This is probably, it's easy. People will say buy because they want to get you trapped so you can consume their content. I'm saying don't buy and then probably lose the viewer. But in all fairness is, this area, is this daily candle is going to play a significant role on whether it is a good buy, the dip opportunity. Why? Because when we do go and make that higher high, which is yet again very much easily obtainable, we come back to test this demand zone. Then I want to buy, because then I'm buying in a situation where I can say statistically the chances are way better for this thing to move on higher. And then I don't care if I buy it at 60 or at 57 or whatever the case. I don't need to buy it at 51. I can rather buy there, because then within that range, because then the chances of success is greater versus the amount of discount. That's more than I want to kind of get on. Okay, it's as simple as that. Now let's move on. Let's have a look at Ethereum real quick, because that was the Cardano analysis. So Ethereum, the same thing. Now, statistically, the bottom was supposed to be between 2,000 and 1,800. Fell lower still. New pivot. I think Ethereum is going to do the opposite. It's going to do a blow off top. So just like these highs, where things just basically goes to a point, apexes, and then falls and turns around like a bull market high, blow off top, then secondary test. I think we're going to have that same kind of environment where this thing is now. People have just given up. Ethereum's dead. It's dead. It's dead. They don't care. And maybe it is, but then there's the potential for a dead cat bounce potentially. And maybe ETH is going to hit $2,300 on the next push. Maybe. Okay, maybe 2,000. Let's leave it at that. So this is potentially the only one coin on this list, this list that I've just shared. It's potentially the only one coin that I think I won't necessarily throw a shit ton of money in. Now I've lost my, there we go, a shit ton of money in, purely because it still needs to give me a little bit more signal. Okay, so it's nice to have let's close all these additional tabs. Let's do this so I can just keep train of. It's nice to have it. It's nice to sit in the situation, so go, well, let's buy the dip coin, but this is no longer for me a buy the dip. This is a scary coin now. I'll rather wait for structure to happen. New pivot, lower low, not that good. Weekly time frame, saving grace. Okay, what do we have? We've got lows. We've got now the lows, but you can see all the hidden bullish divergence have been swept out. So this thing needs to do this. Needs to die. Needs to die quietly and be forgotten before we can grab that one. So ETH is one of those that I would actually just say, hold by. Okay, so when we look at DOT, now let's have a look at this one real quick. So this one is now making a lower low. Price is RSI is not making a lower low, but the trend was sideways. So you can't use any strong bullish divergence or telling it's it. So DOT is a stay away coin now, to be honest with you. Won't touch it, same as Ethereum. So where Cardano still has hope. Remember now, I shared this a while ago where we looked at all the coins that was recently discussed by Trump and Cardano being, XRP being, all of that, and the whole idea that the tariffs, the whole driving force behind it is to bring manufacturing back to the US, and to have all the growth happen within their borders. So the coins in their borders will probably, or founded within the US territories, will probably have preference, and will be, those guys will be utilized going forward. So Charles Hodgkinson instead of Vitalik Buterin, those kind of things. Those guys will be used and utilized to get the US economy on-ramped onto crypto, for that matter. So it's that kind of thing. So Polkadot, I don't think this is at the moment a really bad coin. And yet again, price discovery to the downside, which means it's $3 now. Probably DOT can go below. And I know from being one of the first guys that bought DOT at $300. Remember, it launched at $300, and then they deflated the price by giving you 100 times the coins that you had. So they brought it from $300 to $3 at the stage. That is the initial price. So everybody is still sitting at break even, basically, for holding this thing. So where's the pain? Where is that yet? So DOT still needs to go down. Ethereum, however, and I personally felt 8,000 was as high as it's going to go. The same thing there. There's ETH stuck here, 150 and so there's long-term locked away ETH in profit, but DOT doesn't have any of this. DOT's basically hanging by line, and maybe this drop is DOT's March COVID drop, where it goes, makes a low, and then starts a trend and run. But then we'll have time to grab it, so you don't need to chase onto this layer one. Don't try and chase it. Okay. Then I want to talk to you guys about SAY, because when we looked at SUI a while ago, SUI already had a big run. SAY is still needing to, SAY has potentially better longer term fundamentals for me than SUI. So where we're at, SAY, is in that accumulation range. The RSI, the volume is still relative. It's still a new coin, so there's still a lot that can happen. But what I would say to you guys for SAY right now, if you're thinking about buying the dip with this one, is that there's absolutely nothing other than a support at 11 cents for SAY. So what I will do is I would just be patient. The weekly doesn't give me any entry, any bottom signals just yet. The daily is telling me it's basically still getting ready. I will hold off on grabbing any of this. Don't try and the best thing you can do now is just be unstable with these kind of coins, because they're not quite ready. Rather look at something like I said, like a Cardano. So for a layer one, that's my best opinion, best bet versus these other ones, okay, at this given moment. Okay. Now let's have a look at meme. I think meme is going to be dead the next push. But why? Because they had their moment. So when we looked at previous bull cycles, you had DeFi season, and then you had you had gaming season, and after the season is done, those coins don't ever really come back, but there's still a lot of hopium trapped. So you had algorithmic stable coins that kind of boosted DeFi in 2018, that boosted gaming and GameFi. Okay, then kind of brought in a little bit of a NFT madness, and I kind of missed out on the whole NFT thing. But then when that whole thing ended up collapsing or getting shaken out, which it needs, okay, there was a birth of something new. Now you have a scenario where, okay, now you've got your AI, you've got meme that came from, the NFT season, and so forth. So once they have their season, the season is done, in my opinion. Now, what did not have a season? We haven't had AI. We haven't had Deepen. They haven't had a season yet. So I'd rather look at those, because there's not hope there. There's basically despair there, and that's probably a better emotion at the moment. Okay, so let's look at this list then. So let's look at the memes. Let's look at Doge. Let's look at Mark. Just to name a few, and then we'll take it from there. I just want to plant the seeds so you can understand where my thoughts at with these kind of coins. So Doge, first OG coin. Come on, 1, 2, 3, load. There we go. Right. First OG coin. When Doge was there, we lost support. I said, get the hell out. Okay, simple as that. Doge does this amazing pumps, low liquidity pumps. We're back in this area. So where we're at, this is nothing other than being there. So Doge is there. And this thing can grind sideways for forever before the next pump happens. So you need to almost be okay with, if you have Doge, just to sit on it, And if you don't, that's it for me. What I do like is that this is potentially a stronger looking coin than the other memes, because we do have an area where if it goes above it, it becomes maybe bullish or range bound. And if it stays below this, it's bearish as hell, because we still have strong bullish divergence. So if it stays below that 15 cents resistance, think lower. And if it reclaims it, then you can start that buying the dip or that dollar cost averaging, because now you have a scenario where it is changing from being bearish. You just draw a trend line there, bearish, to now turning into sideways. So what do you want? You want a bull market, you've got your bear market, you've got your kangaroo market. So we're moving then into a kangaroo market where it's going to move sideways. And that's okay, because then that's the right time to start dollar cost averaging. And then maybe then there will be. Doge is more than just a meme. It's probably the OG meme. It's the Bitcoin of the memes, Okay. Trump coin. I said Trump is everybody's enemy. Everybody hates Trump. It's all Trump's fault. But how can it be the market was bearish 3 months ago already? This is just a lubrication. So the fact that the news is there is just an excuse everybody can easily buy on. You can tell your wife why its savings are gone. It's because of Trump. This idiot lost all our money. No, it's not. The time to take profit was there. You didn't act. It's as simple as that. So I feel sorry for the guys, but it's a harsh reality that you need to do. If you want to lie to yourself a little bit more, go on, go lie for yourself. But in reality, I don't care about being right. I just want to make some money. And I think, in all fairness, you guys are too. Okay. So if you look at something like Trump, it is dead at the moment, but it could potentially start turning into this banana kind of picture, or cup and handle and patterns. But for now, there's nothing bullish on this. So stay away. Don't try and buy the dip with these kind of things. If you're in it at the moment, I'd rather just sell it, man. Just get the cash. The cash has got more value. Dead cat bounces are going to be there, but you want to bet on an anomaly, bet on something that's going to happen and maybe be there for like a day and then drop in any case. And then in that moment, you guess what? You're going to say, maybe this is the pump I've been waiting for. And that's just how more people get trapped in. So as long as it's like this, there's absolutely nothing going for it. Just drop it, okay? Then we can have a look at PEPE. PEPE wasn't on the list, but let's just real and short, okay? Long kangaroo market, nice big pump. We're below pivots. PEPE is bearish as hell. If PEPE goes maybe back to these levels over here, yes, you can maybe say, sell a little bit, but this is probably going to go right back down to these levels. What's the real reason for PEPE? Why should this be this expensive? It's a gambling coin. It's a casino coin. It's all that it is, okay? Let's see what else we've got on this list. I wanted to talk to you guys about MOG. Okay, so this now is one of those. That's the buy and kind of pumped nicely. Bearish divergence, fell below the pivot, get the hell out, big sell-off. I don't have a lot of info on this, but this is trending. So basically, if you're in MOG, it will probably push up a little bit, because now Hope is looking for a coin. Please give me something that's making money. And MOG is now the one for today. That is the only one that's pushing up a little bit. So money that is desperate to reclaim some losses, they're all flooding into this one. So it's got its area where it's now going into its rebalancing. So that's all that it is. It's just trapping in more desperate people. So I would say just stay away from this one for now. And if you're in it, get some and sell some, because MOG is going to take it back up, maybe another 10% hit up to resistance. Strong bullish divergence is there, and only if we start switching around and start doing this, my mind will change on MOG, because that's it. And I'm sorry if I can't give you a better, more realistic answer, but that's the nature of where we are in the markets today. I'm just telling you what the TA is telling you, okay? Right, let's move on. Let's talk gaming, Super and PYR. I think Super has got a lot of people excited about Super and so let me just load my gaming list. There we go. We spoke about it yesterday, or not yesterday, Friday, and I said to get out. Okay, so super is giving you a lower low, strong bullish divergence, but it's yet again, it's above the buy zone. So it is in a reaccumulation phase. There's been a lot of punishment. We nailed the sell on this one quite nicely, I have to say, in all fairness. So we're in that area where the market's going to continue. Is it going to pump now? No, because the gaming narrative isn't as hot anymore. It's simple as that. So grab a little super if you have, but if you don't, use any upward momentum that you can find. You know, super maybe bounces back up and goes to 60 cents from this area. You start getting yourself out of a narrative that is not pumping. I promise you, as soon as the big YouTube channels, the narrative-driven YouTube channels, start talking about gaming again, that's the time to get back in. Okay. Before I move on, guys, friendly, kind reminder: support the content. Get your Bybit account today. It's very simple. You can head over to the links in the video description. You've got deposit bonuses like any other KOL will have. So you've got all those additional advantages. But what I do that makes me unique is I give you access to my indicators. There's already a couple of people. Well, there's a new person trying to just click on buttons. So let's leave it there. But basically what I'm trying to do is I give you access to some of the tools I use within my trading. I give you sneak peek access at no cost to look at how my HODL reports are moving. When we look at the coins, what we see, the reports, private videos I shared with the guys, as well as I haven't finished this, the HODL guide, which is probably going to be done this week. That's going to help you navigate to have the right mindset. So before you act, you're just going to look at that. All of that and more, you know, available to you guys. So just support the content. It's very simple. And if you have an existing account and you feel like, but I want to support the content, all you need to do is just open a fresh one with a different email, which I think is safe in any case, having multiple accounts, and then just transfer your KYC to that account, and then you will qualify. It's as simple as that. Okay. And links to all of that, if you go to partnerships in my Discord, okay. So it's navigation channel, so simple. Click on partnerships. Bybit, there it is. Okay, links to all of that is there, and this is all Bybit links, so you can have a look and read through it. It's as simple as that. Okay, so thanks to Bybit, and make sure to support the content that way. I really appreciate that, guys. Now let's talk more altcoins. So I'm going to head on, and now I'm going to talk about narratives. I think that still needs to move. Your AI hasn't moved, your DePIN hasn't moved, and DeFi, I think, is due for a resurrection because there's new ways of looking at it, and there's always a new little bit of a spin on a failed system as crypto is kind of finding them feet. So I would be heavily more focused on these kind of narratives moving forward into the next cycle than trying to get back in on the next meme. No, I can be wrong, idiot me, but that's where I'm going to be focusing my attention on. Okay, so let's start off with let me just get my list. Let's start off with maybe what I need to do that isn't on this list. Let's just talk social finance. Okay, so this thing, guys, I think it went to the green zone, you know, failed attempt, went to the green zone, and you should be out. And now it probably needs to push and start consolidating above $2. I think TON is still poised for another big push, maybe another $10 in the next little run. And but now you just need to be patient. Just give this thing chance so that it kind of consolidates within that range before that happens. Okay. Right now, that's the one I missed. Let's have a look at those AI coins. Okay, so I'm going to start off with WorldCoin, and there was a lot going for WorldCoin at one stage. We had a nice big pump. We wanted to accumulate, and then you can see what I mean by, you know, when it hits that resistance. From that point onward, it's been trending down horrendously. Now, what you need to do is you need to say to yourself, okay, volume is still getting higher as it's going down. So it's probably not done dumping, but it's starting to show signs. So you have to have this on your radar because otherwise you're going to be too late for when the move really happens. So it's showing you that the trend is still bearish. The trend is still very strong bearish at this stage. But if we start closing above these areas, this would be the beginnings of a buy zone. And later on, we'll probably still shake it down a little bit lower, but that's the beginning. And if I zoom in this closely, you can see as there's more panic entering the market, the volume is dissipating. Divergence. The market is showing you one thing, but it's actually meaning something else. So I would consider looking at this coin. Okay, then let's look at this one as well. PYTH. Okay, so same kind of thing, same story. As we're going lower, volume is disappearing. Oh, now I've got hiccups. Volume is disappearing. People are losing interest. They're scared shitless it's going to leave. Let's scale this back to the weekly time frame. And if we look at this now, this is probably the beginnings of where this thing's going to start grinding sideways. I'm not saying it's going to pump just yet. It's probably going to take a little bit of time, but 84 cents maybe to $1. That's the max that this thing's probably going to give us for the next leg up. Keep an eye on this one. Okay, so I would definitely start thinking about grabbing this. Okay, for that reason. Okay, let's move on. Let's see. Let's maybe look at the comments real quick. Monkey, I appreciate you back, buddy. Appreciate everything and all the good the good comments as they come in. And let's see. What do you think of the global M2 money supply lag? Look, I don't want to go that way. I'm looking at the technicals. I'm looking at the stuff here. That's kind of where I want to stick to. I've said I'll do a stream on that, and you've said this many times, asking about the M2 money supply, and I will work it into some content. But for now, I just want to look at the TA, keep it simple. Okay. Let's see what else we've got here in the comments. Hello, YouTube user. Let's see what else we have. That's about that. Okay. Now, let's go through the rest of the coins real quick. Okay. So now I'm going to look at ENA and KMNO Finance. The reason for that is very simple. I think DeFi still has its moment. Now I've missed out on the ENA run. You know this, missed my buy zone. Divergence is there. RSI is showing you difference. Volume is low. This is as they come as pretty as they can. Okay. So I'm looking for this thing to start breaking, and I'm going to start putting some money on my mouth. You know, putting some money behind where my mouth is on this one. So I would suggest grabbing some on this, you know, start DCAing in on this. It's heavily exhausted, you know, the sell-off. And I think the narrative is poised to start getting some traction again. Okay. KMNO Finance, one of those who made a killing. It's still in the buy zone. RSI is there. You know, there's resistance sitting at 45. It's an obtainable 5 cents to go and break through resistance, and 10 cents to make a higher high. This thing has got a lot more strength in it, so it's probably more of a this and then this kind of move than this forever. So I think that there's a lot more legs to be had. So I'm going to be looking at this one in, and I'm going to keep an eye on this one as well. Now the last one, Curve is a really good example of probably just that, you know. Wait for that accumulation, big move, and then you sell. You wait until you double your money and you sell. Otherwise, you're going to be right back where it's at. So, because it's a fast move, it's not going to last, guys. It's simple as that. You have to just understand that that's just the physics of how the markets move. Okay, now let's talk deeper. Near, NetMine, Prime. Let's quickly do that. So I'm going to look at Near, and these were coins that I was really excited about when we were here. The momentum plays. They did quite well. But then they started suffering from all that other lackluster, you know, momentum lost. The market just started dumping down. We're in the right area for reaccumulation with these ones. The RSI is showing me that this thing is getting over-exhausted from a bearish point of view. There's some resistance sitting around $2.50. Keep an eye on this one. Start thinking about Near. Now, I don't want to see this thing pump next week. If it starts pumping next week, $4, get your ass out. You want to see this thing just kind of die down like that. The volume is quieting down. It's still maybe a little early with this one, but it does look really good. So I'm personally looking at this one. Okay, then NetMind. This is that exact example of the market. You know, showing you the signals, quieting down, everything looking good. But then when it gets to these highs, it just doesn't reclaim the critical levels. And that's it. Now we're in that situation where it's basically dead. People are running away from this thing, saying, no. So I'm saying, okay, let that happen. It's just basically shaking out. It's probably going to be exceptionally quiet and dead. And you just need, from a new point, that run. Then I'm happy, as opposed to trying to get this thing all the way back up there. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. I think that there's going to be a nice something coming our way soon. Weekly time frame, look at that lower low, higher low on the RSI. It's showing you that it's losing momentum on the bearish side. Okay, just that itself. Oh, big yawn. 33% coming my way. Okay. Prime. Let's quickly have a look at Prime. Okay, so nice run and same kind of thing. Volume still a little high though. So I want to see this thing start consolidating above $2.5. Once it's there, I'm definitely going to be interested in this one because I think it's yet again another move. And remember now, in the wake of all the dumps, these coins have been going sideways because they've already had their dump. So in the wake, when the next pumps happen, these are going to be the ones moving first because they've done their accumulation and probably will be the bigger movers because of that. Okay, so keep an eye on this one. I think there's a really good. And the interesting thing is, if you look at this, we've already basically reclaimed our divergence. Good one. I'm excited about this one. Okay. That's everything on the list, guys. Now, this week's HODL report for all the private guys is going to be way more in depth, way more coins. And we're going to be talking profit and portfolio management in there. Now, I do have content on that in my Discord. So you can go and have a look at that. Let's talk crazy. YouTube user, do you think it's feasible to tap the 30 support if things get messed up? No. Because of the following reason. Good moves need to leave bearish, hopeful people behind to chase. It's as simple as that. So if we now start saying, remember, this is where we wanted to buy. When this pump happened, I had buy zones in there. I can probably go to this chart, do this, and then just for the sake of those on you, there's all the buy zones. So you can basically see what I mean. Okay. So when we were here, that was the buy that never filled. Okay. And then when that happened and we started moving, I said, guys, I'm planning to buy the next dip, which I did. Okay. So there's the background. Okay. I do get shit wrong in the market. And it's not that I'm wrong or anything like that. The market is the market. You're just trying to statistically narrow the bloody thing down as tight as you can. Okay. Now, if price needs to go back there, basically what this means is that this entire run is over. Then it changes the dynamic, because if I bring in the RSI and I go weekly time frame, let's just stay to weekly time frame. By the time that we're going to get there, let's maybe just minimize that, the buy and sell boxes. By the time that we get there, okay, the market goes, we're now done a lower low and a lower low. Then this weekly is bearish trend. That's bearish. Then why not say Bitcoin's going to go back to $3,000? Because then it's bearish long term, and that changes the entire picture. So, do I think we want to talk that way? No, don't talk that way. 71, that's as crazy as you want to talk at the moment. Anything below that, I think is irresponsible, because you're going to set a narrative to yourself that might just keep you out of the market in the best buying opportunities. And I'm going to leave you guys with the following things. And this is true. Buy when there's blood on the streets. Just wait for them to stop shooting. It's as simple as that, okay? And some of these coins, you can clearly see the shots not being fired anymore. It's just blood now. So it's maybe time to start wandering in, grabbing some of these coins, and the ones that are still getting shot at, stay away, but keep an eye out, because the opportunities for them, they do turn quite quickly. And you never know, are we going to go dead accumulation? Then that opportunity remains there for forever. Or are we going to have a crazy dead cat bounce? Maybe a little bit of a let's get out, a little bit of a little relief. I mean, the last pump that we had was, 3 months on the previous bull cycle. Things were horrendous. And then it pumped, and then when it came back down here, that's when I basically said, guys, it's over now. We're falling back in range bound. There's maybe hope there. I think I was on Crypto Banter with Ran at some stage where I said there's maybe hope there. But then when we rejected at this level, it's simple as that. This thing's going to go. Things are going to get cheaper and just way cheaper. And that's basically that. You have the playbook. The market's just going to repeat itself. Apply a little common sense in that sense. And the next time around, if you feel like you maybe could have done things better, take the profit when it's there. It's basically the best way to go about it, without me trying to preach to you guys, in a sense. 400 people joining in live for a bearish market. That's a record, I have to say. So there's going to be 400 people that's going to be changing their lives going forward. So kudos to you guys 44 minutes still having the same amount of people on stream. That is itself also really great. So guys, take these words, with a pinch of salt, basically, because one candle can change that. That's why I do these streams regularly. Make sure to attend these streams regularly, so you just kind of have a good idea of where we are trending wise. And thanks so much for reaching out on all the comments. Okay. I haven't looked at Solana, and I haven't looked at a few other coins. Those I can chart for you guys in the Discord. I see there's somebody new claiming his buddy indicator access. So I'm going to go through the tickets now, and then I'm going to go into the trade chat room. Okay, so this morning from trading side, we went short. Let's see where that short is going. Just going to hit this back to the 15-minute. Let's see where the short. Okay, so that's our short from this morning. And we got a good reaction from the top of the entry. I think we could potentially still push back up to 78 and still then continue on lower. I'm going to trade this thing, investor sentiment aside, I'm trading this thing to the floor. For the trader and me, go to 30 and I would love it. Okay. But, be realistic. We've got a lot that needs to happen between this and 30. So there's the market, there's the trade. And for the rest of you guys as well, I mean, you're all sitting in a nice short. And I actually tweeted this morning, said maybe consider start looking at longs for that reason, which is something I want to try and do. I want to wait for a short to kind of just back my stop into a corner, so I can almost say, well, time to hedge this thing with a long. And that is something that I think you can do. And all of that as well is in the Discord, guys. So I'm going to be there right now. We're going to take that a little bit further. So cheers. Have a lovely day. Thanks for taking the time. And share the content. Come and help grow the community. I need your help for that. And I'll keep throwing the charts your way. Cheers.